Let me ask you something. If you keep living the next 5 years exactly the same way you've been living the last 5, where will you be? Will you be proud of yourself? Will you be fulfilled? Will you look in the mirror and realize nothing truly changed because you didn't change? The truth is, life doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause for you to figure things out. Every day you're either moving closer to the life you desire, you're drifting further away from it. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. You are not stuck because of your past, or because of other people, or because of the world. You are stuck because you've been repeating the same patterns, clinging to the same excuses, and telling yourself the same story. But listen carefully, change isn't just possible, it's inevitable the moment you decide, because the quality of your life is not shaped by chance, it's shaped by choice. And today, right here, I'm not here to inspire you for a few minutes. I'm here to shake you, to wake you, and to get you to realize that nothing in your life will shift until you do. This is not just another motivational talk. This is a turning point if you allow it to be. If you stay with me, if you really lean in, I'm going to show you the exact truths that will break the cycle, strip away the lies, and push you into the life you were meant to live. But for that to happen, you have to give me one thing, your full presence. Because if you let your old self listen with half a heart, you'll walk away unchanged. And I refuse to let that happen. So I want you to make a decision right now that you will not leave this speech the same person who entered it. Because by the time we're done, you'll know exactly why you have to change. You know what drives real change? It's not comfort. It's not when life is easy. It's not when you wake up and everything feels smooth and predictable. Change doesn't come when you're comfortable. It comes when you're in pain. It comes when life squeezes you so hard that you can't breathe the same way you used to. It comes when the gap between what you're living and what you're capable of becomes so unbearable that you can no longer ignore it. Think about it. We're all creatures of habit. If life is just okay, most people stay there. They stay in average relationships. They stay in jobs that pay the bills but kill their soul. They stay in routines that slowly drain their energy. Why? Because it doesn't hurt bad enough to move. And that's the trap of good enough. But let me tell you something, good enough is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is the enemy of transformation. Nothing significant ever shifted in anyone's life until the pain of staying the same became greater than the fear of change. Let's be honest. Every single breakthrough you've ever had in your life came from a moment of discomfort. Maybe it was the heartbreak that forced you to finally look at your patterns and decide you'll never settle again. Maybe it was the financial struggle that pushed you to finally learn how money really works instead of pretending. Maybe it was the health scare that woke you up to the fact that your body is not indestructible and you can't keep abusing it. In that moment of pain, you discovered a new strength, a new resolve, a new standard for yourself. Here's what most people don't get: pain is not your enemy. Pain is a signal. Pain is feedback. Pain is life's megaphone telling you, wake up, something has to shift. And yet, most people numb it. They distract themselves with food, alcohol, with endless scrolling, with Netflix, with anything that can keep them from facing the truth. But here's the problem. You can ignore the pain for a while, but it doesn't disappear. It compounds, it grows, it festers until one day it explodes. And by then, the cost is much higher. You don't grow from your pleasures. You grow from your struggles. You don't find strength on the days when everything is perfect. You find it in the days when you want to quit, but you don't. Growth demands resistance. A muscle doesn't grow without resistance. Your character doesn't grow without challenges. And your life doesn't change without pain pushing you forward. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone drowning in shallow water. They don't move until the water reaches their nose, until panic sets in. Only when the pain of suffocating becomes unbearable do they thrash and fight to survive. That's how most people live. They wait until life is drowning them before they wake up and do something. But what if you didn't wait until the water was at your nose? What if you saw the signs early? If you use the pain you're feeling right now, not as something to run from, but as fuel to push you into action. Because pain can be your prison, or it can be your power. The difference lies in the meaning you give it. Some people experience pain and decide life is unfair, so they collapse. Others experience pain and decide, I will never go through this again. And that decision births a whole new future. It's not the pain itself that decides your life. It's the choice you make in the middle of it. I want you to think back to one of the toughest seasons of your life. Maybe you were broke. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you were in a place where you thought, this is it, I can't take another step. But you did. You're still here. That means you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. That means you've already proven you can survive. The question is, are you just surviving? Are you using that pain to build something new? Every person who's ever created an extraordinary life has a story of pain. Not one of them had it easy. The difference is that they used it. They allowed it to forge them, not destroy them. They realized that their darkest moments weren't curses. They were classrooms, and the lessons learned in pain became the foundation of their transformation. So if you're feeling pain right now, good. That means you're alive. That means there's still more inside of you. That means life is trying to get your attention. Don't bury it. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Standard have I allowed to slip that I can no longer accept? What is life demanding me to rise to? Because when you ask those questions, the pain becomes a compass. It points you toward the direction of your next level. Here's the thing, you don't have to wait for rock bottom. Too many people only change when everything is collapsing. They wait for the divorce papers, they wait for the doctor's report, they wait for the bankruptcy, they wait for the breakdown. Don't wait for the breakdown to create the breakthrough. Decide now, decide before it costs you everything. You see, the real gift of pain is urgency. It strips away the illusion that you can keep wasting time. It forces you to act, to move, to do something different. And that's why some of the most successful people you'll ever meet started with nothing. Their hunger came from pain. Their fire came from struggle. They had no choice but to rise. And in that rise, they found themselves. So if you're hurting today, I want you to reframe it. Start asking.
Why me?
Start asking. Why now? What is this moment demanding of me? What strength is waiting on the other side of this? Because the truth is, you're not being punished. You're being prepared. Prepared for the life you've been praying for. Prepared for the strength you'll need to handle it. Prepared for the version of you that doesn't just survive, but thrives. If you can remember this, if you can truly embrace that pain is not there to break you, but to build you, then you'll stop fearing it and start using it. Because pain will either define you or it will refine you. And the choice is yours. Pain you feel today is the birth of the change you've been avoiding. You know what separates people who create extraordinary lives from those who just get by? It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not even resources. It's their standards. Invisible line they draw that says, this is the level I will live at, nothing less. Because in life, you don't get what you want. You don't get what you dream about. You get what you're willing to tolerate. Think about it. Every area of your life right now, whether it's your health, your relationships, your finances, or your emotional state, it's all a reflection of what you've settled for. You've set a standard, consciously or unconsciously, and life has matched it. If you've tolerated being 10 pounds overweight, then you'll carry it. If you've tolerated being disrespected in relationships, then that's what you'll attract. If you've tolerated living paycheck to paycheck, then that's where you'll stay. Standards are not wishes. They are boundaries that shape your destiny. Most people live with shoulds. They say, I should work out more. I should save money. I should spend more time with my family. I should stop procrastinating. But should has no power. It's just a soft desire with no backbone. The difference between people who change and people who don't is this. They turn their shoulds into musts. They raise the standard so high that anything below it becomes unacceptable. That's when the breakthrough happens. If you look at your own life, moments where you made the biggest shift didn't come when you simply wanted something. They came when you reached a point where you said, never again, I refuse to live this way. That phrase, never again, is the birth of a new standard. It's not wishful thinking, it's a declaration. It's the moment you raise the bar and demand more of yourself. And once that happens, your whole psychology, your whole behavior, everything you do reorganizes to match it. Standards aren't just words, they're decisions. They're enforced through consistent action. You can say, I want to be healthy, but if you still eat junk food every day, that's not your standard. Your true standard is revealed by what you allow, not what you say. You can say, I want a great relationship, but if you settle for someone who doesn't value you, then that's your standard. You can say, I want financial freedom, but if you accept mediocrity at work, if you keep buying things you can't afford, then that's your standard. The results don't lie. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your standards. Now, here's the beauty of it. The moment you raise your standards, life begins to shift. The moment you decide this is no longer acceptable, this is the new minimum I will accept for myself, everything changes. And let me be clear, it's not about perfection. It's not about controlling everything around you. It's about owning the one thing you can control, what you demand of yourself. Think about athletes. The ones who dominate their sport don't just practice when they feel like it. They don't just show up on the days they're motivated. Their standard is, I show up every single day. I train no matter what. I push beyond my limits. That's why they separate themselves from the average. It's not talent. It's the non-negotiable standard they live by. Or look at business leaders, ones who create companies that thrive decade after decade. They don't tolerate sloppy execution. They don't tolerate mediocrity. Their standard is excellence. And because they enforce that standard, everything in their organization rises to meet it. The same is true in your personal life. If you accept a low standard for your relationships, you'll keep repeating the same cycles. But if your standard becomes, I only engage in relationships where I am respected, loved, and challenged to grow, then the wrong people won't stay and the right people will rise to meet you. If your standard in your health becomes, I will never again neglect my body, will treat it with the respect it deserves, then you'll no longer argue with yourself about whether or not to work out. You'll simply do it because it's who you are. And that's the deeper point. Raising your standards is really about raising your identity, because at the core, we always act in alignment with who we believe we are. If you see yourself as someone who's average, you'll live that way. If you see yourself as someone who deserves more, you'll demand more. And when your identity changes, your standards change automatically. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop making excuses. You simply do what's required because anything else is unacceptable. Let me also tell you this. Raising your standards isn't always comfortable. It means breaking patterns. It means letting go of people who don't belong in your future. It means holding yourself accountable on days when no one's watching. It means saying no when the easy path calls and saying yes when growth demands sacrifice. And that's why most people never do it. They'd rather keep their shoulds than pay the price of raising their musts. But ask yourself, what's the price of not raising your standards? What's the cost of living another year with the same limitations? What's the cost of another 5 years where you're not fully alive, not fully fulfilled, not fully you? That cost is far greater than the discomfort of raising the bar. So I want you to take a moment and look at your life honestly. Where have you lowered your standards? Where have you tolerated mediocrity? Have you said, it's okay? When deep down you know it's not okay, that's the place you need to draw the line. That's the place you need to raise your standard and say, never again. Because when you do, life will test you. It will push back. It will challenge your new standard to see if you're serious. But if you stay firm, if you stay committed, something powerful happens. Your external world begins to reshape itself to match your internal decision. That's when real change takes place. The destiny of your life is not written by chance. It's written by the standards you decide to live by. Raise them and your future will rise with them. Let's get something straight right now. If you want real, lasting change, you can't just change your behavior. You can't just change your routine. You can't just add a few new habits and expect your entire life to transform, because habits follow identity. Your actions are a reflection of who you believe you are. And until that identity shifts, you'll always be fighting against yourself. This is why so many people start strong and then fall back. They get motivated. They join the gym. They start the diet. They write the goals, they try to break the pattern, but deep down, their identity hasn't changed. They still see themselves as the old version. So even if they act differently for a while, they eventually revert. Not because they're weak, not because they're broken, but because you can never outperform your self-image for long. Think about it. If you believe deep down that you're someone who always procrastinates, then no matter how many productivity hacks you try, your brain will pull you back to alignment with that identity. If you believe you're someone who's always broke, then even if you make more money, you'll find a way to lose it or sabotage it because it doesn't fit who you think you are. If you believe you're not worthy of love, then even if someone great comes into your life, you'll push them away or settle for less because it doesn't match your identity. Your identity is the thermostat of your life. It sets the temperature. You might heat up for a while, you might cool down, but eventually you'll return to whatever setting you've installed in your mind. The only way to change the temperature of your life permanently is to reset that internal thermostat, to shift your identity. Let me be real with you. If you want to change your life, stop asking, what do I need to do? And start asking, do I need to become? Because when you become someone new, the doing becomes automatic. You don't have to fight to act in alignment with your identity. If you see yourself as a disciplined person, you don't need to constantly motivate yourself to do the work. You just do it because it's who you are. If you see yourself as a leader, you don't wait for permission to step up. You naturally take charge because it's who you are. Here's the good news, your identity is not fixed. It's not written in stone. It's a story you've been telling yourself, and the moment you change the story, you change the future. You may have spent years saying, I'm just not that type of person. I've always been this way. I can't change. But that's a lie. That's the old identity talking. You can rewrite the narrative. You can decide that starting today, you are someone new. Now, this doesn't mean you fake it. This isn't about pretending. This is about embodying. This is about taking small, consistent actions that reinforce a new identity until your brain starts to believe it. Because identity shifts through evidence. Every time you act differently, you give your brain proof that you're changing. And the more evidence you stack, the more your identity shifts, and the easier it becomes to keep going. Let's say you want to become someone who's healthy and fit. Don't wait until you've lost the weight to believe it. Start believing it now. Start saying, I am the type of person who takes care of my body. Then do something today that aligns with that. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's choosing water over soda. Maybe it's going to bed earlier. Each action is a vote for your new identity. And as those votes stack up, the old version of you starts to fade and the new version becomes dominant. Maybe you want to be someone who's financially free. Start identifying as that person now. Say to yourself, I am the type of person who manages money with clarity and purpose. Then make a decision today that supports that identity. Create a budget, a savings account, invest in your education. Again, every decision becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. This is why surface level change doesn't last. Because if you try to force yourself to act differently while still believing you're the same old person, it's like trying to drive with 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. You make progress, but it's exhausting and eventually you stop. When your identity shifts, the brake comes off. You move forward naturally, effortlessly, because you've become someone who no longer needs to fight to do the right thing. It's simply who you are. And let me tell you something powerful. Your identity is shaped by your decisions, not your past. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care how many times you've failed. I don't care what labels people have put on you or what stories you've been told. None of that defines you unless you choose to carry it forward. What defines you is the identity you decide to own right now. Seen people who were labeled lazy, their whole life suddenly become unstoppable because they decided to change who they were. I've seen people who were told they were failures create massive success because they refused to keep living by someone else's narrative. I've seen people who believed they were broken rebuild their entire lives because they finally realized they were never broken. They were just living in the wrong identity. So ask yourself, who have you been pretending to be? Identity have you been holding on to that's keeping you small, keeping you stuck, keeping you in the same patterns? And more importantly, who do you need to become to live the life you're truly capable of? This isn't about being fake. This is about being the real you. The version of you that's been buried under fear, under doubt, under conditioning. The version of you that's bold, powerful, disciplined, loving, unstoppable. That version is already inside you. You just have to stop identifying with the old story long enough to let the new one take root. And once you do, everything changes because your identity is the foundation. When you shift that, your habits follow, your standards rise, decisions become sharper, your life transforms. So stop trying to change your life by rearranging the surface. Go deeper, change who you believe you are. Because when you do have to force change, you'll become the kind of person for whom that change is natural. The version of you who can create the life you desire is already in you. You just have to decide to become them. If there's one thing people misunderstand about change, it's this: they think their life will only improve once their circumstances improve. They think, well, if I had more money, I'd be happy. If I had a better job, I'd be motivated. If my relationship was perfect, I'd feel fulfilled. If the economy was better, I'd finally take action. That's the trap, the belief that your external world has to shift before your internal world can. But the truth is, it's the other way around. Your circumstances don't create your mindset creates your circumstances. You could put two people in the exact same situation and one will collapse while the other thrives. Why? Because it's never about what's happening. It's about the meaning you give it. It's not the event, it's your interpretation of the event that determines your emotions, your actions, your results. That's why mastering your mindset has to come first before anything else. Think about it. You've probably had days where nothing changed on the outside, but your entire day felt different because of what you were focused on. Maybe you woke up grateful, energized, ready to go, and suddenly the traffic didn't bother you, the problems felt smaller, and opportunities seemed to appear everywhere. But then you've had other days where you woke up stressed, angry, or discouraged. Suddenly the same traffic felt unbearable, the same challenges felt impossible, and everything seemed stacked against you. Nothing changed on the outside. Everything changed inside you. That's the power of mindset. Most people let life control their state. They wake up and immediately check their phone, scroll through negativity, react to emails, and hand over their focus to the world. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, overwhelmed, powerless. But the truth is, state is something you can master. You can condition your mind to focus on what empowers you instead of what weakens you. And when you do, you take back control of your life. Let me give you an example. During tough times, some people say, this is the end. I can't handle this. Others say, this is the beginning. This is the moment I grow stronger. Same situation, completely different mindset. And because of that, they create completely different futures. One spirals down, rises up. It all comes down to what you choose to focus on. If you focus on what you can't control, you'll feel powerless. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel scarcity. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll feel hopeless. If you focus on what you can control, you'll feel empowered. If you focus on what you already have, you'll feel abundant. If you focus on what's possible, you'll feel unstoppable. Your focus determines your feelings. Feelings drive your actions. Change your focus and you change everything. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but you don't understand my circumstances. My life really is hard right now. And I'm not here to deny your reality. I'm not here to say challenges don't exist. But I am here to tell you that staying stuck in the wrong mindset will only keep you trapped. Your circumstances may not shift overnight, but your perspective can. And the moment your perspective changes, way you move through those circumstances changes too. History is full of people who turn impossible situations into breakthroughs, not because life handed them an easy path, but because they mastered their mindset. People who faced failure after failure and refused to let it define them. People who had nothing but believed in a vision so strongly that eventually the world had to catch up. They didn't wait for their circumstances to change. They changed first, then the circumstances followed. So how do you master your mindset? You start by becoming aware of the stories you're telling yourself. Every single one of us walks around with a narrative playing in our head. That narrative is shaping the way we see the world. If your story is, I'm not good enough, I always fail, nothing works out for me, then your brain will look for evidence to confirm it. You'll sabotage opportunities without even realizing it. If your story is, I am resilient, I can figure this out, I'm stronger than anything life throws at me, then your brain will look for evidence of that too. The story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And here's the secret. You don't have to believe the old story. You can challenge it. You can rewrite it. You can start telling yourself a story that empowers you instead of destroys you. And the more you repeat it, the more your brain accepts it until it becomes your reality. It doesn't stop at words. You've got to embody it. You've got to condition it into your nervous system. That means watching your body, your language, your emotions, because your physiology drives your psychology. If you sit slouched over, breathing shallow, telling yourself life is hopeless, guess what? You're going to feel hopeless. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, speak with certainty, and focus on what you can control, your entire state shifts in seconds. And from that state, you can take actions you never would have taken in a disempowered mindset. That's why mastering your mindset is not just about positive thinking. It's about conditioning. It's about creating rituals every day that put you in a powerful state, no matter what's happening around you. It's about training your mind to look for solutions instead of problems, opportunities instead of obstacles, growth instead of excuses. Because if you wait for life to hand you the perfect circumstances, wait forever. But if you master your state, you can step into power right now. And the truth is the world will never stop testing you. Life will throw challenges, setbacks, failures. That's guaranteed. But if you've trained your mind, if you've built that muscle, then no matter what comes, you'll respond differently. You'll rise instead of collapse. You'll move instead of freeze. You'll find a way instead of giving up. That's how you build a life that's unshakable, not by eliminating problems, but by becoming the kind of person who can handle them with strength and certainty. So stop waiting for your circumstances to line up before you change. Stop telling yourself the lie that you'll be happy when you have more money, when you lose the weight, when you find the relationship, when you get the promotion. Happiness isn't something you postpone for the future. Fulfillment isn't something you wait for life to hand you. Both are choices you can make right now by shifting your mindset and focusing on what empowers you. Because when you master your mind, it begins to follow. Every single one of us has patterns. Patterns in the way we think, patterns in the way we react, patterns in the way we live. And here's the truth. Those patterns are either creating your freedom or building your present. Because life is not shaped by one decision. It's shaped by the small, repeated choices you make every single day. And if you're not careful, those patterns become invisible chains that keep you locked into the same results over and over again. Think about your mornings. Do you start with intention, or do you grab your phone, scroll aimlessly, and let the world decide your state? Think about your relationships. Do you communicate with love and presence, or do you slip into the same arguments, same defenses, the same walls? Think about your finances. Do you have a plan, or do you fall into the same habits of spending, avoiding, and reacting? Over time, these aren't just habits. They become the architecture of your life. Here's what's scary. Most people don't even realize they're trapped. They're walking in circles, living the same year over and over again, calling it a life. Same frustrations, same excuses, same results. It's like being on a treadmill, working hard, but going nowhere. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel unfulfilled, why they feel like something's missing. It's because they're locked inside patterns they haven't broken. The first step to freedom is awareness. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself and ask what patterns are running my life right now. Where am I on autopilot? Am I making the same choices that keep producing the same pain? Because if you don't see the pattern, you'll never break it. And once you see it, you've got to interrupt it. You've got to shatter the rhythm. If every time you're stressed, you reach for food, that's a pattern. Break it by doing something radically different. Go for a run, scream into a pillow, jump into a cold shower. Anything that shocks your system and reminds your brain, we're not doing this the old way anymore. If every time you feel challenged, you run and hide, that's a pattern. Break it by leaning in, by picking up the phone, by having the conversation. If every time you get paid, you spend until you're broke, that's a pattern. Break it by moving money into savings the second it hits your account. The key is this: nothing changes until you break the cycle. And when you do, something powerful happens. Your brain starts to realize, a second, maybe I don't have to live this way. Maybe I can do it differently. And that's where real change begins. But let me warn you, patterns don't break without resistance. Your brain is wired for comfort, for certainty, loves routines, even if they're destroying you. So the moment you try to change, the old pattern will fight back. It'll whisper, this is who you are. This is what you've always done. Don't bother. And if you're not conscious, believe it and slide right back in. That's why you need to commit with intensity. You can't dip your toe in change. You've got to burn the ships, cut off the escape route, and declare, this is the end of this pattern. It dies today. Think about someone who's struggled with addiction. The cycle pulls them back again and again. But the moment they finally break free is the moment they draw the line in the sand and say, never again. Refuse to live like this. That intensity, that total commitment is what shatters the pattern. And once it's broken, the prison walls start to crumble. But it's not just about breaking patterns of behavior. You've also got to break patterns of thought, because if you keep thinking the same thoughts, you'll keep feeling the same emotions, and those emotions will drive the same actions. If you always think, I'm not enough, I can't do this, life is unfair, then no matter what changes you make, your mind will drag you back to the same prison. You've got to interrupt the thought pattern. You've got to replace it with something that empowers you, something that pushes you forward instead of pulling you down. And here's what's beautiful: every time you break a pattern, you weaken it. It loses power. The chains get lighter. And every time you reinforce a new pattern, you strengthen it. Becomes easier, more natural, more automatic. That's how you build momentum. That's how you transform your life, not by changing everything overnight, but by consistently breaking the old cycles and building new ones that serve you. So I want you to ask yourself right now, what's the pattern you need to break? Is it the pattern of procrastination where you always wait until the last minute and then stress yourself out? Is it the pattern of negative self-talk? You beat yourself up instead of building yourself up. Is it the pattern of avoiding discomfort where you always take the easy path and wonder why you're not growing? Identify it, name it, and then commit to breaking it. Because the truth is, the prison you're in is self-made. And that's the best news ever, because if you built it, you can tear it down. You don't need permission. You don't need the right timing. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need the courage to break the pattern. Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped repeating the cycles that have been holding you back for years. Imagine waking up energized instead of exhausted. Imagine stepping into relationships where the same fights don't repeat, where you actually grow together. Imagine finally getting control of your finances, your health, your mindset, because you stopped running the same script and started writing a new one. That's what's waiting for you on the other side of breaking the pattern. And let me tell you something, once you do it in one area of your life, you realize you can do it anywhere. You realize you're not powerless. You realize you're not trapped. You realize the walls you thought were unbreakable were nothing more than habits, and habits can be changed. That realization, that freedom is what gives you the power to design a life on your terms instead of living inside a prison you built without even knowing it. So don't wait for another year to pass. Wait for the pain of the same pattern to get worse. Don't wait until you've wasted another season of your life. The prison door is already open. You just have to step out. The moment you break the pattern is the moment you break the prison. There comes a moment in every life where the truth hits you so hard you can't ignore it anymore. And that truth is this change is not optional. It's not something you do when it's convenient. It's not something you dabble with when life feels stale. Change is a necessity. It's as necessary as breathing, as eating, as drinking water. Because if you're not changing, you're decaying. If you're not evolving, you're dissolving. There is no neutral ground in life. You're either moving forward or you're falling behind. Think about nature. Look at a tree. It's either growing, reaching higher, pushing deeper roots, or it's dying. There's no in between. Look at your body. If you don't challenge your muscles, they don't stay the same, they atrophy. If you don't challenge your mind, it doesn't stay sharp, it dulls. Everything in life is governed by growth or decline. Yet most people try to live in this fantasy of comfort, telling themselves, I'll change later. I'll change when I have to. I'll change when things get bad enough. But here's the reality, waiting doesn't protect you. Waiting destroys you, because life will force change upon you whether you're ready or not. Relationships end, jobs disappear, health collapses, economies shift, technology disrupts, seasons of life turn whether you want them to or not. If you've built your identity on staying the same, you're going to suffer. But if you've built your identity on growth, on adapting, on changing before you're forced to, then every storm becomes an opportunity. Every disruption becomes a chance to rise. Every ending becomes the beginning of something greater. The problem is, too many people are addicted to certainty. They cling to what they know, even if it's killing them. They stay in toxic relationships because it's familiar. They stay in jobs they hate because it's safe. They stay in patterns that destroy them because at least they understand them. Deep down, they hope that somehow life will get better without them having to change. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards courage, not comfort. Life rewards those who embrace change, not those who resist it. And I want you to think right now, it's the cost of you not changing, not 10 years from now, not 5 years from now. What's the cost today if you keep repeating the same habits, the same routines, the same excuses? Where will you be a year from now? Your relationships be deeper or will they be colder? Will your health be stronger or weaker? Will your opportunities be bigger or smaller? Because here's the brutal truth. Change delayed is growth denied. Every day you put it off is a day you'll never get back. But here's the flip side, and this is where it gets exciting. The moment you decide that change is not something you'll get around to, but something you must do now, everything shifts. Energy rises, your decisions sharpen, your vision clears. Because when you turn change into a necessity, your brain stops entertaining excuses and starts searching for solutions. Necessity wakes you up. Necessity pulls out your strength. Necessity makes you do the things you thought you couldn't do. Some of the most powerful transformations I've ever seen didn't happen because someone wanted to change. They happened because they had no other choice. The single mom who says, I'm going to build a better life because my kids deserve more than this. The person who hits rock bottom in their health and says, I will not die like this. The entrepreneur who loses everything and decides, I will rebuild than before. When change becomes a must, the human spirit becomes unstoppable. But here's the secret. You don't have to wait until life forces you into that corner. You don't have to wait until the pain is unbearable. You can create that necessity right now. You can raise your own standard and say, I refuse to settle. I refuse to coast. I refuse to waste this one life I've been given. Because when you turn shoulds into musts, you create a new identity. You stop negotiating with your old self. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop living on autopilot. And once you make that shift, change stops being scary. It becomes your natural state. You start seeking it out instead of running from it. You start asking yourself, where can I grow? What can I do better? Who can I become? And the moment you live with that mindset, life begins to expand in ways you never thought possible. Opportunities show up. Relationships deepen. Health improves. Finances grow. Not because the world suddenly changed for you, but because you changed how you showed up in the world. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what if I fail? What if I change and it doesn't work out? Let me tell you something. Failure isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. Failure means you tried, you learned, you stretched. Failure means you're alive. The real failure is staying the same and calling it living. Real failure is looking back 10 years from now and realizing nothing is different because you never demanded more of yourself. Change will always require risk. It will always demand discomfort. The pain of change is nothing compared to the pain of regret. The discomfort of growth is temporary, but the weight of wasted potential lasts a lifetime. And you don't want to carry that. You don't want to live with the question, could my life have been if I had just had the courage to change? So right here, right now, I want you to see change not as something to fear, but as something sacred. Change is the force that keeps you alive, that keeps you expanding, that keeps you becoming who you were created to be. It's not your enemy, it's your greatest ally. Because every time you change, you step into a bigger version of yourself. Every time you change, you expand what's possible. Every time you change, you write a new chapter in the story of your life. And if you resist it, if you fight it, if you cling to the illusion of safety, life will still change around you. The world will keep moving, opportunities will pass. You'll be left behind wondering why it feels like life isn't fair. But if you embrace it, if you choose it, if you make it a necessity, then you stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop being a victim of change and start being the author of it. So don't tell yourself you'll do it later. Don't wait until you're forced. Don't let fear decide the limits of your life. Decide now. Choose now. Commit now. Because in the end, change is not a choice, it's a necessity.